All right, let's talk about every homeowner's absolute worst nightmare, a major water damage emergency. We're going to trace the whole thing from just a tiny little drip all the way to a full-blown crisis and really show you why every single second counts.
I mean, it's a question that can seriously keep you up at night, right? What is that tipping point? How does something as simple as a leaky pipe just escalate so quickly into thousands and thousands of dollars in damage, not to mention a serious health hazard? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
And to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to zoom in and use one specific American town as our laboratory. We're talking about St. Matthews, Kentucky. By looking at the kind of unique challenges that homes in this one area face, we can actually uncover some universal truths about water damage that apply to, well, pretty much everyone. So why St. Matthews, you might be wondering? Well, it turns out this town is basically a perfect storm of environmental factors and, believe it or not, architectural history. It's a place where everything, the ground, the weather, even the buildings themselves, kind of conspire to make these homes super vulnerable to water getting in. Okay, so first, let's look at the big picture stuff. The whole area sits in the Ohio River Valley, which is super humid and gets a ton of rain. The soil, mostly clay, which, doesn't drain well at all. Then you've got a local creek that's known for flash flooding. And to top it all off, Kentucky's got these notorious freeze-thaw cycles in the winter that are just brutal on pipes. It's like this constant external pressure on every single home. And this is where things get really interesting, where those outside risks start to connect with the threats inside the walls. See, all that pressure from the rain and the shifting soil, it puts a huge strain on a home's internal systems. A lot of these houses were built back in the 50s, so they still have original cast iron pipes that are frankly just corroding away. Water heaters, they're basically ticking time bombs after about 10 years. And the old sewer mains, they just can't handle all the storm water we get these days. It is, no joke, a battle on two fronts. So that's the setup, right? That's the threat. Now let's look at what happens when that threat becomes a reality. Because once water finds its way in, you are in a flat-out race against time. And believe me, the stakes get higher with every single hour that passes. Just look at this timeline. It shows how shockingly fast this whole thing escalates. In that first hour, okay, water's just soaking into the drywall, the insulation, the flooring. But fast forward just 24 hours later, and the microscopic mold spores, which, by the way, are always just floating around in the air, they find that moisture and they start to colonize. By the 48-hour mark, you don't have a water problem anymore. You've got an active, spreading mold infestation on your hands. And this is the most crucial point right here, that 24 to 48-hour window. It's not some loose guideline, you guys. It's a biological deadline. Preventing mold is literally all about getting everything completely bone dry before that window slams shut. So to beat that clock, professionals split their response into two very, very different phases. First up is mitigation. That's the emergency response. Think of it like triage in an ER. Stop the bleeding, get the water out, and start that critical drying process immediately. It's only after the situation is stable that they can even think about shifting gears to restoration. That's the rebuilding phase that gets your home back to the way it was. Okay, so let's dive into the solution. When the pros show up, they are not just winging it, not by a long shot. They follow a proven, scientific process that's designed to take control of the chaos and systematically reverse the damage. Yeah, it's a really clear three-step playbook. Step 1, assessment and extraction. They find a source, they stop the leak, and they get all that standing water out with these powerful pumps. But honestly, the most critical part is step 2, structural drying. This is where they bring in the big guns, massive dehumidifiers and air movers, to literally pull hidden moisture out of the very bones of the house. And then finally, and only once their scientific tools confirm everything is dry, can they start the restoration and repairs.
And hey, don't underestimate that drying phase. This is not a quick fix. We're talking 3 to 5 days, maybe even longer, with all this industrial equipment running 24/7. And there's a good reason for that. It's a very deliberate scientific process, because if you rush it, that mold is pretty much guaranteed to come back.
All right, now for some of the real insider knowledge. This whole thing isn't just about bringing in a bunch of fans and shop vacs. Professional restoration is guided by some really rigorous industry standards and, honestly, some fascinating science to make sure the job gets done right. So first things first, technicians have to classify the water itself. Category 1, that's clean water, like from a supply line, low risk. Category 2 is gray water.
Think water from a dishwasher or a washing machine, so it's a bit contaminated. And then there's category 3, or black water. This is the bad stuff, from a sewer backup or a flood, and it's full of dangerous bacteria. Each one of these categories requires a completely different approach to safety and cleanup.
And this quote right here is a really crucial principle from the IICRC. That's the organization that basically sets the standards for the entire restoration industry. They make it crystal clear. It is not enough for the air to just feel dry. Professionals have to know exactly how much moisture is still trapped deep inside the wood, the drywall, and the concrete.
And check out this number because it shows you the incredible level of precision we're talking about. Using these really specialized moisture meters, technicians are working to hit very specific targets. So, for a piece of drywall to be considered officially dry and safe from mold, its internal moisture has to be driven all the way down to less than 1%. See, this is a game of numbers, not guesswork.
Okay, so what does all this actually mean for you if you're ever unlucky enough to be faced with this? Let's take everything we've learned from our St. Matthew's case study and just distill it down into a simple, actionable playbook.
All right, here are the 4 most important things you can do. Number 1, stop the water, but only if you can do it safely. Number 2, call a certified professional right away. Remember that ticking clock we talked about. Number 3, document everything. I mean everything. Take photos for your insurance claim. And number 4, don't get freaked out by all the equipment. Just understand that all those fans and dehumidifiers are working to prevent a much bigger, much nastier problem down the road. And finally, a really crucial piece of advice about insurance. You've got to understand that most standard policies will cover sudden and accidental events, like a burst pipe. What they typically won't cover is damage from those slow, gradual leaks that maybe haven't been repaired, or flooding from groundwater. Knowing exactly what your policy says is, without a doubt, absolutely key. And we'll leave you with this final thought. We all have smoke detectors in our homes to warn us about a fire, right? It's a no-brainer. But what's your water detector? What system do you have in place to give you that early warning for water? It's a really good question to think about before the clock starts ticking.